We're not going to start with Sweeney Todd.
Oh, come on, David. I told you it's my
No,
favorite.
I know it's your favorite. We talked about this. This is a birthday party.
Man.
Right? We're going to eat cake, not people. Uppy peppy. It's a celebration. Sorry.
Hello and welcome to Sondheim Saturdays. To start off this project, I am going to go through my entire Sondheim collection. Bear with me, there's a lot. I have been collecting cast albums since 2009, so that's 7 years now I've been collecting cast albums. And my Sondheim collection is all in hard copy, whereas everything else is mostly digital. Today we're going to go through all the hard copies of Sondheim albums, and then we'll go through everything else. Now, to start, we're going to start in A, and in A we have Assassins. Now this is the Broadway cast recording. Notice it says the Broadway cast, not the Broadway revival cast, not the new Broadway cast. It says this because the original production of Assassins was in fact not on Broadway, it was off-Broadway. We'll get back to that later when we actually discuss Assassins. This is a great recording starring the likes of Michael Cerveris and Neil Patrick Harris, Mark Kudish. There's a bunch of really great people on this recording. Highly recommend. The next CD that I have is Bounce. This cast recording was essentially a studio cast with the cast that performed in Chicago of the original production, the original first staging of Bounce. It's a really good cast recording. Gavin Creel sings a great song on it. Highly recommend. What else can I say about Bounce? I bought this CD in Florida. Here's a show that's very near and dear to my heart, Company. Now this is, of course, the 2008 revival of Company, in which they all played their own instruments, directed by John Doyle, who I have quite a fondness for, unless you're talking about his production of Sweeney Todd, which I have issues with. We'll get to that later. This stars Raul Esparza as Bobby, the never-ending bachelor. You can see that this copy of the CD is in fact signed by Raul Esparza. This is a great cast recording. Of course, all the orchestrations are the same as they were if you had seen it on stage, which is great. It's a really thick box, which is always nice. It comes with this handy-dandy booklet with the full libretto. Next, we get into a show that I have 3 cast recordings for. The first of which being the original. Now this is Follies. Follies is a great show. It's all about theater that's being torn down in the 1970s, and all the Follies girls who performed there come back to have a reunion. It is, in my estimation, the most depressing Sondheim musical ever written. I also have the complete Paper Mill cast, which is really interesting because not only does it include every song and piece of music in the written show, it also includes a lot of stuff that was cut from the original and has actually never made it onto a stage. So that's always fun. And then, of course, I have the new Broadway cast recording, Deluxe 2-disc set, which I don't know why it feels the need to specify that, since I don't think they ever released a single-disc set. But this is great. It's got Jan Maxwell, Bernadette Peters, Danny Burstein, Ron Raines, and Elaine Page. It's a really, really good recording. And we'll get to why I say that so specifically in another video. Alright, the next one that I have is The Frogs. Book by Nathan Lane, interestingly enough, although the original book was, I believe, by Burt Shevlov. When Nathan Lane did another recording of The Frogs, which we're going to get to right now. So Nathan Lane had created this other recording of The Frogs, which is this one. This includes both The Frogs and Evening Primrose, which was a television production that Stephen Sondheim wrote. But this Evening Primrose has Neil Patrick Harris in it, who is wonderful. I adore Neil Patrick Harris, and if you look behind me, you'll see his Hedwig poster. So it's him in Evening Primrose, and of course Nathan Lane playing the lead character in The Frogs, which produced the other production. Alright. Now we get on to a show that Steve did not, in fact, write the music for. He just wrote the lyrics, and that is, of course, Gypsy. This is the 50th anniversary edition of the Merman recording, which is very pretty inside. Folded out. It came out when Masterworks decided that they were going to become more economical and start releasing all their cast recordings on these slim, recyclable cardboard cases. Of course, they then, completely stopped releasing Broadway cast recordings because, of course, everyone just downloads everything now. So that's that one. And then this is another show that's very dear to my heart. Another cast recording, rather, that's very dear to my heart, which is Bernadette Peters in Gypsy. Besides that, I think they over-sexualized Mama Rose. We're gonna get into a whole thing on Gypsy at a later date. Next, we have one of my all-time favorites, which is, of course, Into the Woods, which apparently I do not own the original cast recording on hard copy. We should try and remedy that at some point. Very near and dear to my heart, since it was, in fact, the first Sondheim show I ever actually saw. My history with Sondheim is something we'll get into later. So, here we have the revival, the 2005 revival, starring Vanessa Williams and John McMartin and Laura Benanti and a whole slew of great people. Really good cast recording, even if Vanessa Williams has some moments. And, of course, we have the film version. Probably, actually, I don't know if I want to say my favorite. Probably my second favorite recording of this show. Meryl Streep is amazing. She is a powerhouse vocally. She is a powerhouse as an actress. Truly fantastic performance on her part. Next, we have something that is extremely, extremely important to me, which is Merrily We Roll Along. Now, I have 3 different recordings. 2 of them, for some reason, are in this box. One of them is the one that the cover is shown right here, which is, I don't know, some revival. I really don't actually know when it was. And the other one is the original cast recording, which I also have in here. Now, the third recording of this show that I have in my possession is probably my favorite recording of the show. The full score, presented really beautifully, lusciously, very well-balanced recording, and that is the City Center Encore's production of Merrily, which starred Lin-Manuel Miranda, Betsy Wolfe, Celia Keenan-Bolger, a lot of really great people. Next, we get to P, and with P we have Passion. I only have one recording of Passion because I never ever liked it. We'll get into my history with Passion later. That's all I'm going to say for right now, because my Passion video is going to be loaded. Alright, the next thing that we have is the finished version of a previous recording. So this is Roadshow. Roadshow is the third incarnation of Wise Guys. It went Wise Guys, and then Bounce, and then Roadshow, which finally premiered on Broadway. Off-Broadway, sorry. This was the first one to ever appear in New York. It appeared off-Broadway, directed by John Doyle, starring Michael Cerveris and Paul Gemignani. Really, really good production. The score is different. It's heavily rewritten from Bounce, but it's still very, very good and still has that same feeling to it, which is something that I've always admired Steve on. The fact that he's able to jump into a world and create a musical language for it that he continues. Enough about that. After Roadshow, we get into S. Now, the S's have a lot of really great shows in them, the first of which is Saturday Night. Now, Saturday Night, we'll discuss in depth a lot later, the history of Saturday Night, the different problems it faced, all that stuff. This is an okay recording. I have heard better. This is the only one I own the hard copy of, though. And again, comes with that great booklet, which I always appreciate, from the Nonesuch record company, who produce a lot of Sondheim. The next is Sondheim at Carnegie Hall. Sondheim at Carnegie Hall, the 2-disc set that I own here. It's got a lot of really great stuff. if you have any of the Sondheim DVD box sets, it always comes with this disc, which is a really great watch. Then, the next thing we have here is Sunday in the Park with George. This is the Meunier Chocolate Factory production, which was in, oh god, I don't know, 2002, 2000 something. 2006. This was in 2006, so the year after Into the Woods played. Really good recording. Jenna Russell plays Dot. Daniel Evans, who you might know because he was in the movie version of Les Mis, he plays George in both incarnations. What's great about this recording is it is the complete show. There is nothing cut out. It is a 2-disc set that includes pretty much everything you could ever possibly want from a cast recording of Sunday in the Park with George. Onward to my all-time favorite, and probably yours, which is, of course, the incomparable Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd. This is the original cast. My Sweeneys are organized by year because I have that many. So we're going to try and breeze through these. So we have the original cast recording. We, of course, have the New York Philharmonic cast recording, which is absolutely beautiful. Collector's edition set. Priceless. Not really. It's like $100, but still amazing. We also have the 2005 cast recording, which is directed by John Doyle, and as I said, we'll get to that much later. We have the movie cast recording, which I will do an extensive video on. And that's it. That's all the Sweeneys I have on hard copy, although I have many more on digital. I have, I think, 13 to 15, somewhere between there, different cast recordings of Sweeney Todd. Okay, and then last, but certainly not least, in alphabetical order, we have the West Sides. Sadly, the movie cast recording looks something like this right now because, again, I just am broke. And my Broadway cast recording is still in relatively good shape. Stereo, it's like from the 90s. This one is the 90s release. Really good. Of course, Sondheim wrote the lyrics, but not the music, which was, of course, written by Leonard Bernstein. Now, we have gotten through every CD that I own a hard copy of a Stephen Sondheim musical. Tune in next week for, an inventory of the books and scores and librettos that I own. Alright, thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Happy Sondheim Saturday.